When you find that something, you get up automatically. When you find that something, you don't look at the clock. When you find that something, you don't operate out of the thinking where you work just hard enough to keep from getting fired and they pay you just enough to keep you from quitting. When you find that something, it's something that you love so much that you do it for nothing, but you do it so well that people will pay you to do it. It's a special place to be with your life.
Welcome to the Greatness Ignited podcast, where we have conversations about the greatness of others so that you can recognize the greatness in you. My name is Barry Overton, and I have been studying greatness for the last 7 years, and it is taking my career to new heights. And now me and a few of the successful people that I have had the honor of interviewing are coming together to ignite your greatness and light the fire within. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Greatness Ignited podcast, where we're having conversations to discuss the greatness in others so that you realize the greatness in you. Today, I am pleased to have one of my mentors, someone that I've been following for years, and even without meeting him, had a huge impact on my life. Let me tell you a little bit about him. See, he's a former student of Booker T. Washington High School, where he was labeled educable mentally retarded. He's the former Miami DJ that took the airwaves by storm when one day he was hungry and he pursued his dreams. He's the former member of the Ohio House of Representatives. He's the former talk show host. But let me tell you what he's currently. He is currently the #1 motivational speaker in the world. He is currently inspiring people to live their dreams and live in their greatness. He is currently mentoring hundreds of thousands of people, men and women all over the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, we have LB Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There were none before him, there'll be none after him. Therefore, that makes him the one and only. And still young and single and loves to mingle, certified, bona fide, indubitably qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, world, it's your love man, the godfather of greatness himself, Mr. Les Brown. Welcome to the show, sir.
Barry, that is the best introduction I've ever had in my 52 years of speaking. Wow. You got me, brother. Let the record show. You're hungry. I can hear your footsteps up in here, up in here.
Yes, sir.
It's an honor to be in your presence, and thank you for answering the call on your life to make a difference and to live a life that will outlive you, to help people to realize that they have greatness within them. And your voice, the love that you have for people, the passion that you have for making a difference in people's lives. I always say to speakers, who you are behind the words that you speak are more powerful than the words that you speak. And you show up with a powerful force behind your words that you speak, because this is who you are. You're living your calling. And so I'm honored to be in your presence, sir.
And I am honored that you accepted the invitation. And, you know, it comes back to me from a time when Muhammad Ali, growing up as a kid, Muhammad Ali was probably my first true hero, my role model. And I always told myself growing up, he was still my hero. And I always told myself that one day I am going to meet him. And I just kept saying one day, and never taking the steps to make sure that that one day was today. And all of a sudden he was gone. And it told me that, okay, I can't live in one day. I got to live in the now, and I got to live in the right now. And it was important to me that someone that has inspired me since 2010, Mr. Les Brown, that I, number one, let him know the impact that he's had on me. And then when I saw that you were mentoring people, I said, oh man, I have got to be a part of this Power Voice program and get mentored by the best in the business. So truly, it's been an honor. And this is a dream come true to be at this point being able to have these conversations with you. So thank you again. And I'm going to jump right into the questions. So for me, I wanted to come up with questions that I hadn't heard people ask you before. And one of the things, like I said, Muhammad Ali is one of my biggest role models, and he coined the phrase, "I am the greatest." Well, I feel just the same. You've coined the phrase, "There's greatness in you." And I love that. And that was something that 2008, when I first started my personal development journey, it was kind of in one ear and out the other. But about 2010, it started to stick with me. And I realized that your words were now allowing me to find myself. But my question to you is, when did you realize the greatness in you?
That's a very good question. Very good question. People say a lot of complimentary things about me. I said to my daughter, Dr. Ona Brown, and we went to an event in Miami, and I spoke there. And when we got back home, I said, Ona. She said, "What is it, Dad?" I said, "People think that I'm special, that I have a voice to make a difference in their lives." She said, "You just discovered that?" I said, "Well," I said, "Yeah." She said, "What happened?" I said, "I was called upon to speak in South Dade at Miami Dade College, junior college. And the other speakers, people were talking, but when I got up to speak, they listened and I could hear my voice. They were paying attention to. And I said to myself, there must be something different about me. So I never saw myself as a great speaker or a great person. I've always seen myself as a person in pursuit of greatness. I believe that when you're pursuing your greatness, you don't know what your limits are. So you act like you don't have any. And I think that also what governs my thinking and how I see myself, my mother taught me self-praise brings no recommendation. And so I'm in pursuit of my greatness. I believe that the best is yet to come. I'm 76. And even though I have more yesterdays than tomorrows, I believe that there's still more in me that I can express, that I can bring out, that I have not tapped into. A friend of mine, she died, named Frances. This friend is Virginia Clark, not Frances, but Virginia Clark. And she said to her daughter, when I go, she said, don't have a funeral for me, have a celebration, because life don't owe me any change. And that's how I live my life, so that life will not owe me any change. I'm going to go all out. A.L. Williams said, all you can do is all you can do, and all you can do is enough. But make sure you do all you can do.
Yes, sir. And I know that in your life there's been struggle. There was struggle in the very beginning. And one of the things that being in the Power Voice program, you've discussed briefly here and there, and I've heard you talk about it on some of your lives, was your battle with cancer. And I'm not sure how many times you've had the battle. I know at least 2 times in your life, maybe possibly more. But I've always looked at it just like right now, there's always a smile on your face, even when you're discussing the battle with cancer. And it's a warrior mentality. We look at boxers and football players and things of that nature of having this warrior mentality. But when you are fighting for your life against, as that many people say, the big C word, and you do it in a way where it is inspiring to others. It's just amazing to me. And I had the first line in my book is, the struggle is real, but so is your greatness. And we all will embrace the struggle, and we say that all the time, the struggle is real. but we don't really believe in our own greatness. We almost shun that away. But once again, and I think a lot of times it's easier for the people to see the greatness from the outside looking in than to see it in ourselves. But I just wanted to share with you, number one, I see such a warrior in you. And I just wanted to kind of know the mentality when you were diagnosed. How do you process that?
Well, first of all, I let me watch my words. Do- I, do- I am being treated at Cancer Centers of America here in Atlanta, and my Doctor Oha said, "Mr. Brown, are you aware of the fact that you have fourth stage cancer?" And I said, "Yes." And that is metastasized to 7 areas of your body. And I said, "Whoa." He said,
Mhm.
"Why are you smiling? Most people would be uncomfortable and fearful." I said, I'm very excited right now because 7 is my lucky number. I was
Mhm.
born February the 17th. Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Naaman dipped himself in the river Jordan 7 times. 7 is my lucky number. He looked at his nurse and he said, "This is a strange one we got here." And I said, "Can you tell me something else?" He said, "Yes." He said, "But you will not die from cancer. You're going to survive this." He said, "I don't tell my patients they're terminally ill. What I say to my patients is that my knowledge, my abilities, and my skills have terminated. Now it's you and God to work this out." He said, "I determine the diagnosis. You and God determines the prognosis." And
Mhm.
so, something you said about a warrior, I'm encouraging people to live like a warrior and die a legend.
Mhm.
Warriors live a different kind of life. Warriors have courage. We're encouraged. We are encouraged in my favorite book, Be of Good Courage. I spent a day with Maya Angelou, and one of the most incredible human beings I ever spent some time with. And she said to me when I was leaving, she's very formal in how she spoke. She said, "Mr. Brown," she said, "I want you to remember nothing happens without courage." I said,
Mhm.
"Why do you say that?" She said, "It takes courage to do the things that you want to do in life." And she's absolutely right. And I think that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. Zig
Mhm.
Ziglar used to say that in a fearful position, most people uh, forget everything and run, but there are few with courage, face everything and rise. And that's who you are, and that's the kind of audience that you attract, and that's what you stir up in people, the courage to rise, to ignite the greatness that's within them. And that catalytic impact that you ignite is courage. That and courage is not the absence of fear. The courage is the willingness to release the imprisoned splendor, as Elizabeth Browning would say, in spite of the fear. That's what you do every day with your program, with your guests, with your interviews, with the conversations that you have with the people that view your program. You ignite something in them, and that catalytic impact is a result of courage.
All right. And you mentioned legend, and that kind of takes us into the next area I wanted to discuss with you is legacy. And just to kind of give you a little bit of background on legacy for me, I think, when I was working as a police officer, I never thought about what is it that I'm going to leave behind. I thought about material things that I leave behind to my kids, but not the impact that I was going to have on the world. And it wasn't until 5 years ago that I really found my purpose. And then I started a year and a half, about almost 2 years ago, started writing the book, Ignite Your Greatness, because that was a part of the legacy, because I had this stuff inside that I needed to get out to the world. I didn't want to go to the grave with it. And that was something I learned from you. And I can tell you one of the biggest impacts in my life of a legacy was the loss of Kobe Bryant, January 26th of 2020. And yes, and I can tell you that I have studied Kobe Bryant since then. And I've truly not about basketball, but about legacy and about living every moment of this life, and leaving this world on E. And there's so many videos that he's put out in regards to mindset and his mentality that I've been able to study. And that's going to be part of the legacy that he leaves behind. And I can tell you, I was looking at one of your Facebook Lives. It's probably maybe a year and a half ago. And you were talking about a hologram, a Les Brown hologram. I don't know if that's still in the works, but I thought about that and I was like, man, they did that for Michael Jackson, Tupac Shakur, Whitney Houston, but they did those after they passed. And I thought to myself, he is working on that while he's here. The information that is going to be left behind for the people that haven't been born, that are 100 years from being born, 200 years from being born, the impact that they are going to have from Mr. Les Brown is going to be phenomenal. So I wanted to just share or learn more, and if you could share about the importance of legacy and what you leave behind. I see the picture behind you, and I know that's part of the legacy right there, but I know that there's so much more.
Yes. To me, if we follow what my favorite book says, a man leaves a legacy for himself and for his children and for his children's children. That if we live our lives from that place, you become unselfish. There are things that we are experiencing and enjoying that somebody paid a price for. And we are standing on the shoulders of people who went before us to make it possible for the enjoy the things that we're now doing, and people who had the kind of spirit and energy that you show up with. You have a caring heart. You operate from what Zig Ziglar said, that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It was Zig or Maya that said that. And so that this, what drives me is that we have to have a level of caring, of compassion, an energy, of focus, of purposeful living. And when you believe that there's a reason for you being here, that narrow the choices that you make with your life and the time that you spend here, that you become laser focused on doing that which you were chosen out of 400 million sperm to do, that you are a masterpiece because you're a piece of the master. I said that miracles are things that God do for us, through us, as us, and we know it's not us. And we say, look at God. And when you know that your life is not yours, it's that a man, in order to gain his life, he must lose his life. And I say that means losing their lives and doing something that's you, like you are with this program. This is you. You don't need an alarm clock to wake up in the morning. When you find that something, you get up automatically. When you find that something, you don't look at the clock. When you find that something, you don't operate out of the thinking where you work just hard enough to keep from getting fired and they pay you just enough to keep you from quitting. When you find that something, it's something that you love so much that you do it for nothing, but you do it so well that people will pay you to do it. It's a special place to be with your life. And that's why I was looking forward to our spending some time together, my brother.
So we were talking legacy, and what really stuck out to me the storytelling, you do such a superb job of that. And then reading, and You've Got to Be Hungry, the stories of Leroy Washington and Milton Butterball Smith, and realizing that you propel their legacies just through the stories. Now, I was able to find information online about Milton Butterball Smith, and I was actually able to find something about probably the biggest inspiration to you, Mrs. Mamie Brown. And it's just amazing to be able to see the legacy that she left behind. And because of you, that legacy is going to live on and on, after your time and after your children's time. And it all, while we think it started, many people will probably think it started with you, but it really started with Mamie Brown and the impact and influence that she had on your life. Would you agree?
Without any question, I always quote Abraham Lincoln, who said, "All that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother." When we eulogized her, there was a quote that I got from hospice that said, "She covered the ground that she stood on."
Mm.
And she did. She had such an impact on me. And my goal was to make her proud, to buy her a home, to take care of her. And our personalities are very similar. I took my personality from her. My mother would talk to people and she'd make friends, and they called me Mamie's boy because I'm the same way.
Yeah, and when I was reading You've Got to Be Hungry, one of the stories, and I didn't know where you were going with it until you got to the point, and then it clicked a memory in my mind. But when you were talking about going with her to the wealthy side of town and cleaning the houses, and she's clapping, and you were trying to figure out what that was about, and the fire that I was reading it, I could feel the fire of when you understood when this lady told you why she had your mother doing that. And when I think about, again, the greatness being ignited, I certainly feel that was probably a point in your life as well where you felt again, something had to change in your life as you grew up.
Oh, without any question, because Mrs. Harris had her clapping her hands. She said that when she have colored people or people who worked for her, that she couldn't see them when they were looking for something, she made them clap their hands because that will stop them from stealing. And that ignited the hunger in me. I was removing some spots off the floor in the kitchen, and I dropped the washcloth and I looked up at her and stood up. And during this time, you weren't supposed to look white people in the eyes. And I said, "Miss Harris, my mother is not a thief. She loves you and she loves your children. She will not steal from you or anyone." And that was a moment in my life. There's something that Jim Rohn talks about, a day that turns your life around. And that was a day that turned my life around. That even though I was raised in the segregated South, that it just didn't seem right. And I was not willing to settle for things as they were. There's a movie called The Truman Story. And that movie, his life was real, but people around him, it wasn't. And when he discovered his life was real, that everybody else around him, they were pretending, he wanted to escape. And the person who set that up, he said he won't escape. And they asked, "Why not?" And he said, "Because most people accept the life that they have been given." But he had said, "No, I want something different for myself." I knew that that's the way things were then, but I said, "No, I'm not going to have myself or my mother live in this kind of environment. I want out of here."
And I want to touch just on another thing in your book, You've Got to Be Hungry, that really it let me know that I was on the right track. So again, I wrote Ignite Your Greatness, and I got it to my publishers probably around August or so. And then I picked up You've Got to Be Hungry probably September. And there was a part in there where I read about you're using the acronym for hungry, and heart is the H. And when you talked about heart being the driving force, to your hunger, literally in my book, I talk about where greatness lies in the body. And I said that it lies next to the heart because the heart is the driving force. While we think with our brains and our minds, we have to have that drive. We do things from the heart. That's why, when people talked about Evander Holyfield and some of the fights where they would talk about, man, this guy has heart. that's used again for that warrior mentality, for someone that's digging deep inside of them to bring out the very best that they have. So when I read that in your book, and I knew that I had something similar to that in my book, I was like, man, I'm on the right track now in regards to my thinking. But I got to tell you, I love the book, the story of Lakeisha. Well, I cried when I read that story. And I mean, there's so many other areas, but that was one, once again, it really hit home for me of, living in the now and living in the right now. And you made such a great point in regards to that with the book. Would you say that this is probably your best work in regards to literature that you've written?
Yes, it's my best work. There's no question it is. It was so hard getting it out because, as an author, there are always so many distractions. But I really believe that, like your book and my book, is written for this time. That average is over, as one
Yeah.
book title is. You have to get out of your head and into your greatness. And that really, as I look at it now, the delays, the things that I experienced, this has prepared me for this moment in time. When I look back, you realize that there are certain ways in which you look at your life, you think that things happen to you, but ultimately you come to an awareness that those things happen for you. And I believe when I go through the manuscript and as I was going through it, that these things happen for me, the good, the bad, the ugly, that it helped to develop me into the person that I am now.
And I know people can go to Amazon to pick up your latest book, You've Got to Be Hungry. I highly suggest that you pick up this book. It will make a huge impact on your life. And just as Mr. Brown said, it is made for this time that we're currently in. And I- one of the biggest areas that I am just so grateful for, 2020 was a year of so much distress, so much heartache for so many people. And for me, there was around June, there was an opportunity that presented itself because of COVID-19, and it put Mr. Brown in a position where he was at home alone talking to Tyrone. And the Tyrone is the squirrel that's outside of his window. But Mr. Brown said, you know what? I want to talk to some humans, and I want to mentor, and I want to impact some people. And he came up with this power voice system that I'm telling you, I've from my own experience, but from the experience that I've seen of so many other students that have become friends now. I mean, you're uniting people right now, sir.
Mhm.
And I just want you to share a little bit more about your power voice system.
It is designed to teach people how to use their story to distract, dispute, and inspire. How we live our lives is a result of the story we believe about ourselves. We're born with stories of greatness in us. And when you speak, that you create an experience that distract people from their current story, and through the delivery of your presentation with passion, with energy, with humor, and with information, that you begin to dismantle their current belief system, distract, dispute, and inspire. And you inspire them to become, as Mother Teresa would say, a pencil in the hand of God and
Mm.
start writing a new chapter in their lives.
Yeah, and as I said, I am a big believer in the program. I was amazed at the price of it. And I tell our friend John Tellerico all the time, I got my money's worth out of the first 15 minutes of the first Power Voice training that I was on, and really understanding my audience and telling the story in regards to what it is that they want to hear and not what I want to say. And just such a powerful process that I was able to go through over those 7 weeks. And it was an honor to be a part of the very first Power Voice Summit. And like I said, just watching all these new students that are going through and seeing some amazing speakers. I know your father of is it 9 kids?
Um, I have 10 children.
Yeah, 10 children. Well,
Yes.
you probably have about 400 or 500 now, with
Yes,
the Power
absolutely.
Voice system. Yeah, so it's again, sir, it's been an honor to be a part of that, and I want to thank you for taking this time to be on the podcast with me and share some insights. You've answered some questions for me that, like I said, I've had for years. So thank you so very much for being a part of this, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for how you show up. And I'm looking to us for us to share the stage together virtually. Tyrone sends his regards, and keep in mind, you got to be hungry. I love you, and I appreciate you, Barry. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing and answering the call.
Thank you so very much, sir. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, the Power Voice system, if you go to lesbrown.com, we'll be able to get you connected with the right people to be a part of the Power Voice system. Amazon.com to get your copy of You Gotta Be Hungry. It will change your life and change your thinking. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember, the struggle is real, but so is your greatness.
Ignite your greatness, take a leap of faith and you'll make it. Wanna live life to the fullest, you gotta be hardworking and patient. You got the fire within you, you got a dream that you should be chasing. Pushing through to the finish line and you got no time to be wasting, yeah. Ignite your greatness, take a leap of faith and you'll make it.